Good morning. This is Stephanie Bolus. I work here in the Training, Education, Exercise Division at the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. We are pleased to welcome you all to this morning's webinar, Building Mission-Ready Packages. Before we get started, you will notice that we are presenting in a different format that we have in the past. We have changed over to the Share My Desktop view. The view you are seeing is the presenters. In order to see both the list of participants and the chat box on your screen, you will need to click on the drop-down menu, which is located in the front of your screen at the top. Simply click on the participants and chat buttons and place them anywhere on the screen. Additionally, we will not be muting the lines today, but instead ask for everyone to mute their own lines. Kate will be asking for questions, often due to the specific nature of the topic. At the end, there will be an opportunity to provide feedback to include suggestions for topics and questions. We very much appreciate your time taking this. The session will be recorded and the link will be provided to all registered participants to view the recorded session. Now to introduce our presenter for today. Kate Archie is VDEM's newest logistics specialist under response programs. She will support logistics, mutual aid, and resource management programs for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Kate Archie comes to VDEM from the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, where she managed the emergency pet sheltering program. In that role, she was responsible for the pet sheltering component of the state-managed shelter program and acted as a subject matter expert in support of local pet sheltering preparedness. Kate earned a master's degree in Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness from the Virginia Commonwealth University. She also has a bachelor's degree in anthropology from American University. She earned an Associate Emergency Manager Certificate from the Virginia Emergency Management Association in 2015. She has volunteered with the Red Cross in disaster planning and is a disaster assistance team member. She has been a member of the Southern Agriculture and Animal Disaster Response Alliance Radiological Working Group and worked to establish best practices for animal decontamination. Kate, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar here. Today, we're going to be going through in-depth how to build mission-ready packages so that you all can package your resources. So, first up, what is a mission-ready package? A mission-ready package is simply a description of a resource in a standardized format, and it defines the capabilities and the limitations that might impact the mission, describes the equipment that comes with the resource, the commodities, the required support, the footprint of the space needed to stage and complete the mission, and it contains the estimated costs. So it's a really detailed description in a standardized format. And that format is an Excel workbook. So first things first, when you decide that you want to create a mission-ready package, the first thing you need to do is identify the resource that you're packaging. And the first stop that I would make would be to go to the resource typing library tool with FEMA and see if your resource has already been typed. So you can do that with just a simple search and see if it meets any of the categories, the NIMS typing categories. If it doesn't, that's fine, but if it does, it's good to know that up front because it gives you a lot of information that you can just copy-paste. The second step would be to download the job aid, and I believe Stephanie sent that out to everybody already. It's also located at the EMAC website. And then you go ahead and download the template. So the template is located at the EMAC website, and you go to the Resources tab, and then you go to the Mission Ready Packages in the drop-down, Get Started, scroll to the bottom, and choose Mission Ready Package. They've got several templates based on the number of people that are going to be in the package. So you want to choose the template that's got the correct number of people. And of course, you could be creating a Mission Ready package that doesn't have any people. It's just a piece of equipment, which is fine. But you would just choose the smallest number of people in that case. And then you save the template to your desktop. Okay, does anybody have any questions before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to create the packages? Okay. So as I explained, the standardized format is a mission-ready package worksheet that's in Excel, and it contains fields for entering the resource provider information, details on capabilities, limitations, all of the information that a resource requester could want to know about what you're providing. It's got a main sheet that's got the basic information, and then it's got additional tabs at the bottom that you can click on that detail out the travel, personnel, equipment, commodities, and other. So this is a view of the 20 information fields contained in the main Mission Ready Package worksheet. This is just a visual to show you the amount of information that goes in there. And we're going to go through each line of the worksheet in the slides that follow to really detail what type of information needs to go where. So when you first open up the worksheet, there's some visual cues. The white cells is where you're going to be entering in the data. The blue cells are generally locked, and they just indicate the categories. The gray cells are generally calculations that are used from data that you've entered, and it's doing an internal calculation in Excel. And so that's locked. And the yellow cells are descriptions, again, locked. And then there are the red triangles, which are sometimes amazingly helpful, sometimes less than amazingly helpful. But if you hover over the red triangle in the corner of a cell, it'll give you an explanation of the data. So in this case, with the location, it's specifying where is the resource within the home state. It's a physical location of the resource to be geocoded. So the first thing that you're going to need to fill out in the Mission Ready Package worksheet is the title. If possible, choose a title that's consistent with NIMS resource typing, but as I mentioned, if your resource is not a NIMS type, that's fine. Create a title that is going to be understandable not just by you, but by everybody. So let's see. So I've got some examples here of Mission Ready Package titles. So Fatality Management Scene Recovery Team, Hazmat Entry Team Type 2, Law Enforcement Strike Team, General Population, Shelter, Supply, Cash Trailer. So these are just some examples of the types of titles that you might be thinking about. So the next section of the worksheet is the resource provider. And the resource provider is the entity that owns the resource, for example, the locality. And the agency name, and the agency is the entity that manages the resource. Of course, the location of the resource is, as I mentioned earlier, the physical location that's used to map the resource. And the point of contact is the person who can answer specific questions about the resource's capabilities and support requirements. It's important to note that this person is probably not authorized to deploy the resource. Only the authorized representative of the locality is allowed to deploy the resource through statewide mutual aid. But this would be the person that could answer the questions. So here are some examples of the resource provider. We've got the Office of Emergency Medical Services, which is with the Department of Health. We've got Anywhere Locality / Anywhere Fire Department. And then you could just have a single entity, such as a regional organization, which is the entity that actually owns it, as well as the entity that manages it. So does anyone have any questions about the resource provider section? Okay. So going on, if your resource is a NIMS type, if it's applicable, then you would go ahead and fill out the section. This is for the National Tier 1 NIMS resource typing definitions, and also the job titles, position qualifications. So you would enter the data in this section. If your resource does not meet a Tier 1 NIMS resource typing definition or job title, then you'd leave this section blank. And in most cases, for us, this has been left blank. So the next section of the worksheet is the ESFs. And here you just enter in the ESFs that would be likely to be supported by this Mission Ready package. And this is a feature that people will be able to do a search. So if you know that you're in agriculture and you're looking for a resource and you're having a hard time weeding through all of the packages out there, you can do a search for ESF 11 and sort of narrow down the field to resources that may be applicable to you. Some of the packages may support all of the ESFs, some just one or two. Okay, so mission capabilities. In my opinion, this is really the heart and soul of the Mission Ready package. This is the composition and capabilities of the personnel included in the resource to perform the assigned mission. Or it could be just the capability of equipment if you've got a single resource that's just equipment. The capabilities may include a description of various mission functions, services, and tasks related to the Mission Ready package title. It also may include useful metrics, such as the number of people that a shelter team could serve. So this is a section where you clearly outline what your resource can do. So I've got some examples here. For one of our patient transport team Mission Ready packages, they list for their capabilities emergency medical services, evacuation support for patient and medical facilities, and patient triage, treatment, and transport. So for an EMAC A-team Mission Ready package, it's got sort of a narrative, instead of a bulleted list, a more general sentence format description of what the mission capabilities are. And here's a radiological monitoring team example. Again, it's providing a description of what they're able to do, but then it's also at the bottom making a note that they think is important. Well, the team is primarily designed to work at a fixed reception center. Transportation assets may be required to move the equipment and team members among facilities. So again, it's detailing the capabilities, and when you think necessary or relevant, you can also put in there what the team does not do, or what the resource does not do. Are there any questions about capabilities? Okay. So for the resource description, this is a detailed description of the resources that are assigned to the Mission Ready package. And this can be information such as the skill sets of the personnel or their training and experience, or it could be a detailed description of the equipment that they're bringing with them. It's basically a description of the entire package, the personnel and equipment and commodities that are going to be used to perform the functions and services described in the mission capabilities section. So, for example, I've got a public information officer mission ready package, and here we've got a description of the resource. So you know, what is this public information officer? It's an individual with significant experience with the following skill sets. So this description really helps the resource requester understand who or what is going to be showing up. And they'll be able to use this information to make sure that this is the appropriate resource for their incident. The next section of the mission ready package is the resource description, or the resource requirements, excuse me. And the resource requirements are broken out into space and size requirements, limiting factors, logistical support requirements, and a deployment timeline. So for space and size, some examples of things that have been put in there are the size of the vehicle parking space. Another is the access to water and sewage and draining for the location of the temporary morgue. And also that the team will be incorporated into an existing operation. So that's, if you've got large equipment, this is really where you need to describe the footprint. If it's something like setting up a mobile base camp, obviously that would be important. But then also things like command vehicles are important to list the space and size. So then the limiting factors section, a great one is a lot of the mission-ready packages only bring supplies for a certain amount of time, and then they rely on replenishment from the locality after a certain amount of time. So this is where you spell that out. You know, the autopsy team will only bring commodities and supplies for 72 hours. Another good example is, you know, if additional communication devices are needed to support integration with another group, those assets need to be supplied by the requesting jurisdiction. So these are the things that the requester needs to consider to make sure that your resource is able to perform fully, to perform all of its functions fully. And then logistical support is what will your resource need? And so some examples that I have are the local data collection forms. If you're requesting the service of a team and they're not bringing their own forms, it's important to know that up front. Disposal of radioactive waste is another good example. Interpreter services, meals and lodging for staff is important unless your team is typically self-supporting. Meals and lodging is pretty much you know, you're expected to be entered into the logistical support examples. Okay. So then further down the page, there is the mission ready package cost development section. And in this case, the travel tab is being used as an example, but once the data is entered into the different tabs, the travel, the personnel, the equipment, and the commodities tab, it's automatically populated into the corresponding fields of the mission ready package, and it allows the user to view things like the average daily cost and the total estimate for the entire mission. And again, here is a piece of the travel tab. Now, in Virginia, and it's turning out that most states are also following this as well, we're not populating the travel section of the mission ready package until there's an actual request. And the reason for that is because the travel expenses can vary enormously. Even the per diem and the lodging rates, even though they're GSA, they can vary. And then, of course, things like mileage and whether or not you need airfare is going to have a huge difference on the cost of the mission. So it's pretty much a rule of thumb that the travel tab is empty and that initially all the mission-ready packages do not include travel costs associated. And then those are details that that VDEM can help fill in pretty quickly on the fly if there's an actual need for activation. And here's more information on the travel tab. So then we go to the personnel tab. The personnel tab you list the personnel by type, if applicable, and if they're not NIMS typed, then you put in a detailed description, and the minimum licenses or certifications, and then any needs for the rotation of personnel. So here we've got some examples. So in the list personnel by type, someone put in 3 radiation technical specialists, including a team leader. All the staff will be trained and experienced using radiation detective devices. So this is the type of information that you would want to describe the people that are going to be part of your resource. The minimum licenses and certifications. This is an example from another mission-ready package. The team members will be certified for EMT Basic for EMT personnel or licensed EMT Paramedic for paramedic personnel. And then a list of all of the classes that are required, as well as emergency vehicle operations course. So some groups have a lot more extensive licensing and certification, and some really can just leave this blank. But it's basically the minimum of what you're requiring on your team. So then we go to the Personnel tab. And the Personnel tab is a list of all of the positions in their salary, their contact information, and their salary and their benefits. Again, for the initial mission-ready package that you would be creating at this point, you wouldn't be including specific people and their actual contact information and salary. What you would be doing would be listing the position title and coming up with a high average cost estimate for their salary and benefits, their salary and their fringe. The typical mission is a 12-hour day, so that would be 8 regular hours and 4 overtime hours on a regular schedule. But then some places will have, none of it is overtime. It just depends on the policy for your locality and how you pay your folks. But you would fill this information in with an estimate, a high average, to come up with your mission cost, and you would enter in the total number of personnel on the mission at the top there. So are there any questions about the personnel tab? Okay. So the next tab is the equipment, and this is a picture, a screenshot of back on the front area of the equipment. And so you can list equipment requirements such as electricity or internet access or fuel. You can identify the type of property. Usually just putting in mixed is fine. And then any maintenance and rehabilitation requirements needed for this equipment. So if you know that your equipment is going to need calibration after the mission is completed, you can put that in there. You know, if you know that the vehicle that you're using is going to require a PM, you would put that in there. So then the equipment tab details out where you list the equipment that you're taking, and of course, equipment is the hard goods that you're going to be returning with after you've used them, whereas commodities are you're going to use and then dispose of. So that's the distinction here. So the equipment tab, you would list your equipment and the number that you're going to be taking, and then you can either charge, if you're going to be charging for reimbursement, you can either do it by the number of days by day rate or as a lump sum. But if you're going to be bringing, let's say, a vehicle, you're not going to say the cost of the item is $25,000 new because this is going to be how much you would be charging the locality for it. So instead you could do, for the vehicle, you would do a rate per day. You know, and it may be, I don't know, you could figure wear and tear on a certain vehicle could be, I don't know, $5 a day. And you can use the FEMA equipment lists, the FEMA equipment schedules to help fill out some of this information, or you can contact me if you need some help figuring it out. A lot of places have just done a standard depreciation model to figure out how much they're going to charge for things like laptop computers. Some mission-ready packages are not expecting reimbursement for equipment at all unless it's been damaged. And in that case, they would list the equipment there and the quantity that they're going to be bringing, but they're not going to list an associated price. So there's documentation that this piece of equipment was brought with us, and if it gets damaged, you know, you can get reimbursement for repairing it, but there's not just an associated use rate. Are there any questions about this equipment tab? So the commodities is very similar, and let's see, here's the commodities tab. But as I mentioned, the commodities, you know, you use it and then you're done with it. So it's not a by day rate, it's a by item. So this is the area where you would make a list of all the commodities that you anticipate using during the mission. And then there's another section, another tab at the bottom of the worksheet, the last tab of all of them. And this is where you put in things that aren't equipment, they're not commodities, they're not personnel, it's other. And this is a great place to put in things like the preventative maintenance that you know that you're going to be purchasing for the vehicle when it returns, or If you know that you're going to need vaccinations, you can put vaccinations here. So this is just sort of the catch-all if there's something that doesn't belong in the other tabs. So the Mission Ready Package worksheet tallies up the total and the daily costs, and you need to enter in the total number of mission days. A typical EMAC deployment is 14 days plus a day of travel on either end. So that 16 days is what we have people put in for their average Mission Ready package. Now, if you know that your resource, you're never going to deploy your resource for that long, let's say, you typically have a 5-day limit, then put in a 5-day limit. Put in what is correct for your resource. But if you don't have any limitations like that, then just go ahead and use the standard 14 plus 2, so the 16-day mission. And once that information is in there, it can calculate the daily cost for the equipment and personnel. So, VDEM Logistics can help you to develop your Mission Ready packages. If you've got questions, you can call or email me. I can come and work with you one-on-one, or we can get a group together to do a class format. And again, I can work online with people or in person. So please reach out if you have any questions or you run into any tricky sections with your Mission Ready package. Once your Mission Ready package is completed, then you would email the Excel worksheet to missionreadypackage@vdem.virginia.gov, and we will review your Mission Ready package to make sure everything is completed and that it looks correct according to the standard format. Obviously, we're not experts on your resource, but we can make sure that the format of the worksheet is correct. And then we would upload it into the 2 pilot systems, MASS and Mutual Aid Net. Okay, so after you've created it, there is a little bit of maintenance here. You are the keeper of your Mission Ready package. It's your resource, it's your package. So once you submit it to VDEM, it's entered into the mutual aid inventory and visible in Virginia through WebEOC and nationally through MASS. And you're responsible for keeping your Mission Ready package current and notifying VDEM of any changes. We will be sending out annual reminders to resource providers that are identified in the form to verify the accuracy of their Mission Ready packages. And then any time that you see fit, you can withdraw or edit your Mission Ready package just by notifying VDEM. And of course, as with all mutual aid, you control the availability of your resource, and your consent is required before your resource can be deployed. So by including the Mission Ready package in the inventory, you're not losing any control over the resource. You're just sharing the data. Okay, and as I mentioned, there's the annual inventory, and we'll be sending out a reminder, and the Mission Ready packages would ideally be validated through exercises and actual use during interstate mutual aid. So in addition to the support that VDEM provides, there's some great resources online. The emacweb.org has categories of deployable resources, and these are, multidisciplinary, everywhere from, public utilities to animal resources to public health resources. So there's a wide variety of resource categories. There's a job aid for developing EMAC mission-ready packages, which I believe Stephanie sent out. And the website has a great video using mission-ready package models. And then, of course, the templates are located on the website under deployable resources. And then another great tool is the resource typing library tool. Again, that's where you want to check in first and see if what you're packaging is NIMS typed. Does anyone have any questions? I know this is a lot of information, and Excel certainly isn't too exciting, but I'm more than happy to answer questions now or through email or on the phone if you have questions and you want to really get into depth. But are there any initial questions? Okay, well, I think that's it, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Kate. Guys, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me and I can forward them on to Kate, or you can email them directly to Kate. I have posted the link for the survey. If you guys have any suggestions for topics or any questions you want to have answered anonymously, I can do that way. But the recorded session will be edited and posted out to all of you, hopefully within about a week. Thank you guys so much. Kate, thank you.
Thanks.